There is an old saying that when we are young, we do everything to please others, but as we grow older, we realize that wise men often do the opposite. This lesson is particularly relevant in relationships, where many intelligent men fall into the trap of seeking validation and approval from their partners. They believe that by constantly accommodating, sacrificing, or molding themselves to fit another person's expectations, they can create a lasting connection. However, as Stoic philosophy teaches, true strength lies in self-mastery rather than external validation. Marcus Aurelius once stated that men's greatest mistakes are not the things they do wrong, but the things they shouldn't do yet still attempt. A man who seeks to please others at the cost of his own identity ultimately loses both self-respect and the respect of those around him. The need for constant approval often leads to a cycle of dependency and emotional exhaustion, where a man's happiness becomes entirely dictated by his partner's reactions. Instead of living for others, a wise man focuses on cultivating his own personal growth, principles, and emotional stability. When a man values himself, he naturally attracts people who respect him for who he is rather than what he can provide. True relationships should complement one's life, not define it. By prioritizing self-respect over external validation, a man ensures that his relationships are based on mutual appreciation rather than an endless pursuit of approval. In the end, wisdom is found not in pleasing others, but in staying true to oneself. One of the biggest mistakes many men make in relationships is staying in unhealthy situations simply because they fear being alone. Aristotle once said, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom," yet many men avoid solitude at all costs, even if it means enduring toxic relationships. The fear of being alone can lead to poor decision-making, causing men to settle for partners who do not truly respect, value, or support them. This fear creates an unhealthy dynamic where they tolerate disrespect, emotional instability, or even abuse, just to avoid facing the discomfort of solitude. However, as the Stoics taught, true strength comes from within, not from external attachments. A man who cannot be alone will never know if he is with someone out of love or simply out of fear. The paradox is that once a man becomes comfortable in his own solitude, he gains the power to choose relationships based on genuine connection rather than desperation. He no longer clings to people who drain his energy or compromise his self-worth. Instead, he attracts partners who add value to his life, not just those who fill a void. The solution is to embrace solitude, cultivate self-sufficiency, and build a fulfilling life that does not depend on another person's presence. When a man learns to enjoy his own company, he gains true freedom from emotional dependence, from toxic relationships, and from the need to settle. In the end, being alone isn't a weakness, it's a sign of strength, resilience, and self-respect. Time is the most valuable resource a man possesses, yet too many waste it in relationships that do not serve them. Seneca wisely observed, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." This truth becomes painfully evident when men spend years overanalyzing text messages, waiting for calls that never come, or prioritizing someone who does not prioritize them in return. Many men fall into the trap of devoting their best years to relationships where they are merely an option rather than a priority. They sacrifice personal goals, cancel plans with friends, and neglect self-improvement, all for the sake of maintaining a connection that may ultimately lead nowhere. Marcus Aurelius compared time to a river, always flowing forward, never retrievable once it has passed. When a man gives away too much of his time to the wrong person, he is not just losing hours, he is losing parts of his life he will never get back. The Stoics understood that time, once spent, is gone forever, unlike money, opportunities, or even relationships, which can always be rebuilt. The key to a wise and fulfilling life is to treat time as a precious asset. Before investing significant energy into a relationship, a man should ask himself, is this person investing equally in me? If the answer is no, then the relationship is not worth the sacrifice. A man who values his time sets boundaries, focuses on his purpose, and chooses to spend his energy on people and pursuits that truly matter. In the end, wise men do not just manage their money well, they manage their time even better. Many intelligent men downplay their achievements in relationships, fearing that success might intimidate their partner or make them seem arrogant. However, true confidence comes from owning one's journey, not hiding it. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." This speaks to the paradox many successful men face. They work hard, build careers, overcome obstacles, yet hesitate to acknowledge their accomplishments in relationships. They fear that being too ambitious or accomplished will create distance or resentment. As a result, they minimize their success, pretend their goals are insignificant, or avoid discussing their dreams. However, as Marcus Aurelius taught, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. In this case, the best approach is not to dim one's light for the sake of others' comfort but to stand firm in one's success. A strong woman does not want a man who hides his achievements, she wants a partner who can inspire her to reach for her own dreams. The key is to differentiate between confidence and arrogance. Owning success does not mean bragging, but rather acknowledging the work it took to achieve it. A man's ambitions and accomplishments are part of his identity, and the right partner will celebrate them rather than feel threatened by them. Hiding one's success only leads to dissatisfaction and self-betrayal. Instead, a wise man remains proud of his journey and seeks a partner who values his ambition. After all, true compatibility is not found in insecurity, but in mutual growth and shared aspirations. Protecting one's mental health is one of the most overlooked aspects of maintaining a strong and fulfilling relationship. Many men dedicate time to their physical and financial well-being, yet they neglect their emotional and psychological stability in the name of love. The Stoics understood that a man's mind is his greatest fortress, yet too many allow it to be torn down by toxic relationships. Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, "Very little is needed to make a happy life, it is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." However, when a man constantly finds himself overanalyzing conversations, checking his phone in anxiety, or losing sleep over someone else's mood swings, he is no longer in control of his own mind, he is at the mercy of another's emotions. A relationship should bring peace, not chaos. If a man finds himself in a situation where his mental well-being is repeatedly compromised, it is not love, it is emotional warfare. Too many men justify this suffering by convincing themselves that relationships require sacrifice. While compromise is necessary, it should never come at the cost of mental stability. The solution lies in setting boundaries, refusing to entertain unnecessary drama, and recognizing that a healthy relationship should nurture, not deplete. A man cannot pour from an empty cup, nor can he offer his best self if he is constantly drained. True love is not about losing oneself, it is about becoming stronger together. Protecting mental peace isn't selfish, it is essential for both personal growth and a fulfilling partnership. Staying true to oneself in a relationship is one of the most crucial yet challenging principles for many men. Too often, they fall into the trap of altering their personality, beliefs, or values to fit what they believe their partner wants. Albert Camus once said, "The moment you start changing who you are to please someone else is the moment you start losing yourself." This is a mistake that countless men make. They say yes when they want to say no, agree with opinions they don't believe in, and mold themselves into an idealized version of what they think their partner desires. The problem with this approach is that it creates an unsustainable illusion. As the Stoics taught, pretending to be someone you're not leads to suffering twice, once from the effort of maintaining the facade and again from the inevitable failure when the truth comes out. A man who abandons his core identity to satisfy a relationship not only loses his own self-respect but also becomes less attractive to his partner. Authenticity carries a power that no performance can match. The irony is that the very act of trying too hard to fit in often makes a person less desirable. The solution is simple yet difficult: start saying no, express true opinions, and stand firm in personal values. Not everyone will appreciate it, and some may even walk away, but that is the price of being genuine. The right person will never require a man to change who he is, but will instead inspire him to become the best version of himself. One of the most damaging mistakes a man can make is sacrificing his dreams and ambitions for a relationship. While compromise is a natural part of any partnership, abandoning one's goals to accommodate another person leads to long-term regret and resentment. Seneca wisely stated, "No person has the power to have everything they want, but it is in their power not to waste their time chasing what they can't have." Many men, in the name of love, put their careers on hold, pass up opportunities, or abandon passions they once held dear all to fit into someone else's vision of life. At first, they may justify these sacrifices as necessary for the relationship's success, but over time, they come to realize the painful truth: when a man gives up his purpose, he loses not just his ambitions, but a part of himself. The harsh reality is that no one truly admires someone who abandons their purpose for love. While a partner may initially appreciate the devotion, they may later question what happened to the ambitious, driven man they were first attracted to. Worse, the man himself may wake up years later, feeling lost, unfulfilled, and wondering where his dreams went. The solution is to remain steadfast in one's goals. A strong relationship should support and enhance both partners' journeys, not require one to abandon theirs. The right person will encourage ambition, not compete with it, and will see a man's passion as something to celebrate, not suppress. A strong man understands that while relationships are important, they should never come at the cost of abandoning family and friends. Many men, in their pursuit of love, make the critical mistake of isolating themselves from their support systems, believing that prioritizing their partner above all else is a sign of commitment. However, as Plato wisely stated, the first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. To be conquered by yourself is of all things most shameful and vile. This applies directly to the man who, in the name of love, slowly distances himself from lifelong friendships, skips family gatherings, and neglects the very people who have always supported him. At first, it may seem like an act of devotion, but over time, this isolation can lead to regret. If the relationship ends, he may find himself completely alone, realizing that the bridges he once burned were the very ones he needed the most. The Stoics understood that no man is an island. Having a strong social network provides emotional stability and a sense of belonging that no single relationship can replace. The healthiest relationships are those where both partners maintain their friendships and family ties. A relationship that requires one person to abandon their past connections is not a partnership, it is a form of control. The solution is simple: stay connected to the people who have always been there. A strong, independent man values his relationships outside of romance, knowing that true love does not demand isolation but rather encourages balance. One of the most self-destructive mistakes a man can make is becoming excessively dependent on his partner for emotional validation, happiness, and self-worth. Many men, even those who are intelligent and successful, unknowingly fall into this trap, shaping their entire lives around their partner's presence and approval. Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Yet, too many men surrender this power, allowing their emotional state to be dictated by whether or not they receive a text, a compliment, or affection. This kind of dependence is not love, it is emotional slavery. The paradox of excessive dependence is that the more a man clings, the less attractive he becomes. No one wants to be responsible for someone else's entire sense of happiness, it's an overwhelming burden. The moment a man makes his partner his entire world, he unknowingly diminishes his own value in the relationship. A strong, self-sufficient man does not seek validation from others, he creates a life so full and meaningful that a relationship enhances it rather than completes it. The key to maintaining self-respect and emotional independence is to cultivate personal interests, maintain strong friendships, and build a fulfilling life outside of romance. True love is not about losing oneself in another person, it is about growing together while maintaining individuality. As the Stoics taught, happiness comes from within, not from external validation. A man who understands this remains grounded, confident, and truly free. A strong and fulfilling relationship should enhance a man's life, not define it. Many men fall into the trap of believing that their worth is determined by their romantic success, leading them to prioritize relationships over personal growth, purpose, and self-respect. However, as Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. This means that true fulfillment does not come from external factors such as a partner's validation but from an internal sense of self-worth and purpose. Too often, men make the mistake of thinking that a relationship will complete them, only to find themselves lost when that relationship ends or becomes unhealthy. The key to a balanced and meaningful life is to cultivate a strong personal foundation before entering any romantic partnership. A man who has his own passions, ambitions, and sense of identity will never feel dependent on a relationship for his happiness. This, in turn, makes him more attractive, as confidence and self-sufficiency are naturally compelling traits. The healthiest relationships are those where both partners support each other's individual growth rather than becoming each other's sole source of fulfillment. When a man understands that his life is already complete on its own, he approaches relationships from a place of strength, not neediness. As the Stoics taught, control over one's own mind and emotions is the key to true happiness. A relationship should be a complement to one's life, not the reason for living. True strength in relationships does not come from controlling or sacrificing for a partner, but from building a solid foundation within oneself. Many men make the mistake of believing that love requires self-abandonment, whether by giving up their personal ambitions, tolerating disrespect, or seeking validation from their partner. However, as the Stoics taught, real power lies not in external attachments but in self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, very little is needed to make a happy life, it is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. This wisdom is crucial in relationships. Happiness should never be outsourced to another person. A relationship should add value, not become the sole source of meaning in one's life. A man who depends entirely on his relationship for fulfillment loses his independence, his confidence, and ultimately, his attractiveness. When a person's self-worth hinges on their partner's actions, they become reactive, anxious, and emotionally unstable. True love flourishes when both individuals maintain their own identity and sense of purpose. A man should enter a relationship as a whole person, not as someone looking to be completed. The healthiest connections come from mutual respect, shared values, and individual strength. Rather than clinging to a relationship out of fear, a wise man ensures that his life is rich and fulfilling on its own. As the Stoics taught, self-sufficiency is the key to inner peace. In the end, relationships are not about dependency but about two strong individuals choosing to walk life's path together. Wisdom in relationships is not about control, sacrifice, or dependence, it is about maintaining dignity, strength, and authenticity. Too often, men believe that love requires them to lose themselves, whether by constantly seeking approval, suppressing their true identity, or making their partner the center of their world. However, as Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. This means that true fulfillment comes from within, not from external circumstances or another person's validation. A strong man does not shape his life around a relationship, instead, he builds a fulfilling life and allows the right relationship to complement it. The Stoics understood that true power in relationships comes not from what we do, but from what we refuse to do. A man who refuses to sacrifice his mental peace, abandon his ambitions, or betray his values for love is a man who remains in control of his life. The best relationships are not based on dependency but on mutual respect, shared values, and the support of each other's growth. When a man prioritizes his self-worth and inner stability, he becomes someone who naturally attracts healthy, fulfilling relationships. He does not chase love out of fear of loneliness but welcomes it as an addition to an already complete life. In the end, the most successful relationships are not built on neediness or sacrifice but on the foundation of two strong individuals who choose to be together without losing themselves in the process. Life teaches us that happiness does not come from pleasing others but from understanding and respecting ourselves. When we are young, many believe that love requires sacrifice, putting others above ourselves. But as we grow older, we realize that a truly lasting relationship does not demand us to lose who we are. Stoic philosophy reminds us that inner peace is more valuable than any relationship and that we can only love others fully when we first learn to love ourselves. For those who have experienced life's ups and downs, this lesson becomes even clearer: no one can bring us true happiness if we do not first find it within. Instead of depending on others, we should focus on living a meaningful life, maintaining important relationships, valuing ourselves, and continuously learning and growing. A fulfilling life is not built on sacrifice alone but on a balance between love, self-respect, and a deep sense of inner peace.